So what ended up happening for me after staying clean another 3 months after that detox, I ended up getting a shoulder injury and not fully understanding addiction. When the doctor prescribed me some Vicodin, I can take that, right? And I was off and running after I took that first one. When I took that first one, I knew it wasn't going to do anything. I took the rest of them, and it took me out for a year and a half. And over that year and a half, that's when those yets happened. I lost more jobs. I started losing friends. I started losing family. I was calling you to send me money all the time.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my sponsor and I had a sit down about it because I did love you. I knew you were broke, and my heart was pulling. And she said, Carrie, make a commitment that you could stick to, but not enable him too much. So I don't know if you know this, but I made a commitment to myself that it didn't matter how many times you called me that month, all you were going to get was $40. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all you were going to get, and that's all you got every month, 40 bucks. And I would say I didn't have it. I said whatever it took because I was not going to help kill you.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like in our addiction, a lot of us in our addiction, we blame people. We blame people and for how we are or what we're doing, and that's how it was for me. I remember blaming you. I felt that you owed me money. You needed to help me feed this thing because it was your fault, and all these things. But after all this, what happened in early 2012, maybe even late 2011, there was a point where my kid's mom stopped letting me see my son, and you you actually talked to her about this, right?
Yes, I'm the one that orchestrated that one, son.
Yeah. So what was that?
You have to take away, it's like people staying with me. It's like people letting me work. I'm not getting it. See, we have to have more pain than pleasure. Because our addiction says feed itself. So I told her, why would you let my son watch Dylan when he's drinking and taking pills?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like what we were talking about, is that we have to get to this point. And I remember being furious. I remember being so angry. And I probably called you a million times saying awful things. And, but during this whole thing, and this is the problem with so many of us, while we're in our addiction, why it's so powerful is that we still can't look at ourselves. We still can't see that we are the source of the problem. The alcohol and the drugs are the source of the problem. I remember you saying, Chris, just try to be sober for a year. And I looked at you like you were insane. I was like, that is crazy. Who would do that? But it still sounded crazy even when I couldn't see my son. But over those next months, I felt worse. I didn't want to live anymore. I got to the point where you did, where I was going to sleep every night praying to God that I wasn't waking up in the morning. But that sun would shine through, and I'm like, I got to do this all over again.
But, and every evening I woke up wondering if I was going to get a call that you were dead. Yeah. That's horrifying. But I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, and it pretty much got to that point because for me, I started swelling up, right? And I kept going to the emergency room every other week.
I thought.
And my mom was my emergency contact. I remember calling her from the hospital every time I was going. That must have been a nightmare for you. And finally, one time I went down there, and since I was a regular there, they were like,
"You're right."
They were like, "Look, something's wrong with you. We're gonna get you admitted." And you were my emergency contact, so they called you, didn't they?
Oh my! I'll never forget the moment. I can remember where I was standing. I was teaching a psych class that night. I was getting on my way to go teach it, and I get a phone call from a nurse. And she says, and I swear, you probably shouldn't say this over the phone, but she did. She said, this is Chris, I'm a nurse from so-and-so hospital, can't remember. She said, your son's here, and if I was you, I would get here soon. I don't know if he'll be here in the morning, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heart drop. Oh, I was teaching in Bakersfield. That's about 2 hours away from Fresno. And Dylan was staying with us for the week for the summer.
Yeah.
Mind you.
So not only did you drop what you were doing again, but you also had to fly back with my son because I was in the hospital and they didn't think I was going to live. So you guys hopped on a plane. They admitted me for congestive heart failure at the ripe age of 26.
Can I share this one? I have you on the phone, and you're in a ICU in a glass. There's just a glass in front of you, and you're in a bed by yourself. I said, Christopher, where are you? Because I knew you were in ICU. You said, Mom, I'm in a regular room. I said, no, look at the window. You said it said CCU. I said, Christopher, that's critical cardiac unit. Yeah. You are not doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, and that was part of it, too. I was in denial, and I was minimizing it. And, you know, part of this disease, it was telling me that no matter what's happening, the drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. Because if the drugs and alcohol are the problem, then that means I have to stop. But I remember you guys coming down. It was you and my son's mom, and and you were all begging me to stop, and I didn't want to do this anymore. I thought I was hopeless. I thought that this is how I was going to die. My son's going to be better off without me. But I remember you telling me you were screaming at the nurses about about no, my son's an addict, and they were saying I wasn't.
And I'm like, are you guys insane? You had your 20% of your heart was all that was working. Yeah. And they said it was your weight problem. I'm like, no, it's an opiate alcohol problem.
Yeah. So.
Oh, God, that was a nightmare.
So you ended up taking me back with you to California.
You forgot the 6 things of oxygen I had in the back of the car because you could not be released without oxygen.
I was getting there. I got released at 26 years old with an oxygen tank. Those things that go through those. Yeah. But what I ended up doing was sneaking a bag full of pills with me back to California because I had no intention on getting sober. and that's, you know, I was just going out there to reset, you know. Sometimes we're just going to places like we're just going to reset, wait till the heat's off, and we'll figure this out. But yeah, one morning you ended up finding those pills.
Oh yeah, that was a higher power thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had hid them under the bathroom sink, and I upstairs, and I was reloading toilet paper in all my bathrooms because I like doing that. And all of a sudden, these pills fall down. I said the Serenity prayer because I could have went down and yelled. I mean, I had bought that house. I knew nobody put those there. It was built brand new. I got in the car without you knowing and went to the local pharmacy.
Yeah.
And they told me what those pills were.
Yeah. And then that's when
you remember walking back in the door?
Yeah. No, you came back in, and I was up until like 4 a.m. that night, and you woke me up and told me that you found them, and then you told me you threw them away, and I woke up real quick. You know,
I know.
Like what are you doing?
Pharmacist.
Like,
I told him he'd keep them.
Yeah, because when you're an addict like one of us, when you find out they're gone, like it feels like someone just sucked the oxygen out of your body. Like my brain.
Well, you didn't have any oxygen, Chris. So you really didn't have any after I told you.
But so what happened is that my mom ended up having to give me an ultimatum that I either go to a sober living or I go back home to Las Vegas. She had a train ticket ready for me and was going to send me back. And I begged and pleaded with her because going back to Vegas, I would have been homeless in the middle of summer in 115-degree weather, you know, but...
You weren't saying that. You said you were going to be just fine and you had friends there.
Oh, yeah, I was bluffing. Did I ever tell you that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, did I tell you I was bluffing?
So yeah, but I don't know. I remember begging you for hours because I didn't like people. I just hated people. I hated society. I didn't want to, like, moving into a sober living house was my worst nightmare. And I begged you. I must have begged you for like 12 hours.
Oh, you were making me laugh. Then I'd go upstairs and I just say, I'm not giving in. Yeah. There's no way. I'm not watching my son die.
And I remember you brought over your friend, your AA friend who had come with me to the detox. And I remember you two talking about like, oh, Chris's disease this, Chris's disease that. And I was getting furious. Like, what are you talking about, my disease? And yeah, and then Dad ended up coming over too with some other family members.
Oh yeah.
And I remember just seeing how much pain I was causing my family, but I couldn't stop yelling. It was this weird kind of out of body experience where I couldn't stop yelling at everybody, but my back of my head was saying, Chris, you need help, right? So there was a point where I finally agreed to go, and my sobriety date is my 27th birthday of June 23rd, 2012. And my mom, she got one of my favorite pizzas, right? And a little cinnamon roll type dessert from the pizza place and put a candle in it. And my mom's ecstatic, right? She won. Her baby boy's going to get sober. And she's like, this is the best birthday present I can give. And I remember looking at her just so filled with anger, just so mad. You know,
I knew you were.
I didn't want to get sober, but, you know, now that I work in the treatment field, I share this every single time. Because, you know, you get this a lot too. We get people in who don't want to get sober, right? And 4.5 years ago, I went into this thing not wanting to get sober, and I'm still sober today. So I hope that gives anybody watching this a little bit of hope that even if you don't want to get sober, you can get sober. Something can click, something can happen, right? And that's what happened with me in that sober living house. Just going through there came a point where I met the guys there, and I realized that, you know, I had a support group. I realized that I wasn't alone. And going to a lot of meetings and hearing other people share their stories, it gave me hope, almost like we're doing right now. I heard stories like these ones, and I heard how much better people's lives gotten, and something happened where I was like, maybe that can work for me. Maybe, right? But going back to when we were talking about earlier, your whole PhD and you know everything about addiction, I had to humble myself a lot because my mom passed this thing down to me where I think I'm always right. I always think at any given moment I'm the smartest person in the room. And I had to tell myself, you know, if my mom could humble herself with a PhD and do these things, what's my excuse, right? And yeah, you know, during that first year, there, you know, you were very inspirational to my sobriety. So inspirational because so many of us, when we get sober, we have all these reservations. We think, I can't do this. I don't need to do this. If this happens, I'm going to use, I'm going to drink and all this stuff. Even when I got a sponsor, I told him all my reservations. If A, B, C, or D happens, I'm going to get drunk or high, right? And like we were talking about, I love painkillers. And you were at the water park with our nephew. One of your gifts of sobriety is that your grandchildren don't remember you from the drinking days, right? It's amazing.
No.
So you were at the water park with my nephew, your grandson. He zigged, you zagged, and you tore something in your knee.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I remember saying this. I was sitting back, my arms, I'm like, all right, now my mom's got to take painkillers. Let's see her not take some painkillers. And this woman did not take a painkiller. Not only that, but it took a while for you to get that surgery, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
It took a few months. And
yeah,
I remember going to these meetings and they kept saying, we don't drink, we don't use, no matter what. And I was like, yeah, you mean no matter what, except for when this happens. But my mom was a shining example that we don't drink or use no matter what. And I was blown away. It was like I was watching, you know, like a unicorn or something. I'm like, what is this? You know, because I was taking painkillers for stubbing my toe, and you tore ligaments in your knee, right? But during this time too, I also heard that being of service was detrimental for people staying sober, and that was my opportunity to be of service to you, right? So I was running errands for you. I drove you around sometimes when I had to. I would get passes to leave my sober living. And like you were talking about earlier, this is a very selfish and self-centered disease, you know? And I remember just like sitting there cursing, just, oh, mom needs me to do this, mom needs me to do that. But after I did it, I started getting this good sensation. Like, wow, Chris, you're actually being a good son now. You know? Like, you're doing what other people's sons do. You're helping your mom out who is injured, right? So that was interesting, and that really helped me in my sobriety. But one of the other big things, and I think that we need to talk about this whole thing being a family disease, and we talk about not just family, but our friends are like our family too, and you already made a huge step toward, when you left my stepdad to get sober. And one of my other concerns was my best friend was now an alcoholic and a drug addict. I didn't know what I was going to do with him, but your best friend, who was like my uncle, he was struggling with that, and you were that inspiration to me again about what they talk about when their sobriety comes first. So hopefully you're all right talking a little bit about that. But what do you mind if we talk a little bit about that? Christmas, when I was about 6 months sober, like around that time.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about
I'd like to say, if you drank with me, you did, and you were an alcoholic, you didn't look like you had a problem. That's the first thing I want to say.
Yeah.
When you get sober, and if you're a really bad alcoholic like I was, once I got sober, everybody around me got worse about their drinking because the shining star of alcoholism wasn't there to go, oh, I can't be like Carrie. Look, she's on the floor.
Mm.
So Ronnie, who was my best friend, my brother, we knew each other since 14, his alcoholism started getting out of control. About when you got sick, he had called me and wanted treatment. And he used to work here at the treatment center as a receptionist. Anyway, I set it up that we were going to treat him for free because we loved Ronnie. We were going to treat him for free. He's going to have another therapist, not me, but somebody else to help him. He never called back. He wouldn't return my calls, and so I had to let it go. And one day I get a call from his sister that he's in the hospital. End of story. At Christmas time, I spent about 8 days next to his bed in the ICU as his system shut down in order from alcoholism. Mm-hmm. And he passed away the day after Christmas.
The day after Christmas, yeah. And that was tough for me too. And I remember just seeing, at this point for me, because this man was like my uncle, and I grew up, he helped raise me when I was a kid, and seeing from the outside what it must have been like for people to be at my bedside when I was in the hospital, and just seeing the pain that you were going through now that I had a clear head, because I was about 6 months sober at this time. But also, you had to distance yourself from him greatly, when you got sober, because your recovery had to come first. But you taught me that we'll do anything. We will do absolutely anything for our friends, our family, as long as it involves getting help,
Yes.
And
I was not going to leave his bedside. And if he opened his eyes, I was going to be right there to help him.
Yeah. And yeah, we lost him. And eventually, I had to deal with that exact same situation 3 years later. And even though we lost him, my best friend is now sober a little over a year and a half. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's huge to anybody watching this, is that, if you think about it, if my mom had never gotten sober, I never would have gotten sober. If I didn't get sober, my best friend wouldn't have gotten sober, So that's the beauty of this whole recovery thing, is that we pass it along, and it doesn't always happen immediately either. You got sober and I got sober after you were sober for 7 years. My best friend, I had to do the same thing where I distanced myself from him, I stayed on his couch for a month, and it was like the scene you described in my place. It was like a liquor store, right? And I just saw how bad it was. I was like, oh man. And 3 years later, he finally said, Chris, can you take me to rehab in Southern California? And at 4:00 in the morning on a Sunday, he came to my house, we hopped in his Jeep, and I drove him out there, because you taught me, and then also the other sober men and women taught me, that I met, that they taught me that we drop what we're doing and we help each other. That's what we do, and that's helped
Do you
me.
remember his mother called before you drove him? You got his mother in touch with me so I could share my story of being a mother going through it, which helped them do an intervention and say, we're not helping you anymore.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And then you drove him.
Yeah.
So his family had to do the same thing. We have to help not only ourselves, but the families. We're there for the families.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we do. And that's one of the, that's partially sometimes my motivation to stay sober, so I can share my story and give other people hope, that we can share this and we can you can talk to family. See, I could talk to people about what it's like to have a mom, and then you could talk to people about what it's like to have a son. And, we could do all these things. And that's the beauty of this program, because, that hope is what gets passed along and passed along and passed along, But yeah, that was kind of, the first 6 months.